You know that feeling, that tightness in your chest that shows up out of nowhere. You're not in danger. You're not running from anything. On the outside, everything seems fine. But inside, your mind races, your breathing shortens, and a strange heaviness starts to creep in. You try to take deep breaths. You try to distract yourself. You tell yourself, "I'm okay." But deep down, you know something doesn't feel right. This is where the cycle begins. Fear of feeling fear, panic over panic, shame about not feeling normal. People around you may not notice. You might even be good at hiding it. But inside, you're exhausted from the battle. And for most of your life, you've been told this is a problem. That anxiety is something to fix, that you're malfunctioning, that you're weak. But what if that entire narrative is wrong? What if anxiety isn't some personal flaw or emotional defect, but a real signal, your inner world trying to speak up, trying to show you something you're not seeing? That's what this video is about. I'm not here to give you breathing hacks or 5-step lists to feel better. You've already tried those. They work. Until they don't. What I'm about to share with you might challenge everything you've believed about anxiety. It might even make you uncomfortable, but it might also be the most freeing thing you've heard in a long time. Anxiety is not your enemy. It's not something to push away, to conquer, to silence. What if it's actually your mind and your body trying to wake you up? Not to scare you, not to break you, but to redirect you, to bring you back to something real. Alan Watts, the philosopher who never shied away from discomfort, once said, "The desire for security and the feeling of insecurity are the same thing." That sounds confusing at first, but it's deeply true. The more you chase emotional stability, the more anxious you feel. Because deep down, life isn't stable. It's not meant to be. Anxiety isn't the result of being broken. It's what happens when you try to hold on to something that's always changing. It's what happens when you try to control the uncontrollable, your future, your relationships, your mortality. And because life refuses to obey that illusion of control, you suffer. Think about it. What are you afraid will happen if you let go? Failure, being abandoned, pain, death, the unknown? Whatever it is, your anxiety is a natural response to uncertainty. It's not a malfunction. It's human. It's ancient. Neuroscientist Robert Sapolsky explains this in a way that's hard to ignore. In his book, Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers, he breaks down something so simple, it's brilliant. Our stress systems were built for a different world, a world where danger was immediate, a lion, a fire, a real threat. The moment the threat passed, the body relaxed. The stress was temporary. It served a purpose. But today, your stress isn't coming from lions. It's coming from an email, a breakup text, a memory, a bill, a voice in your head predicting disaster. Your brain doesn't know the difference. It reacts the same way. Faster heartbeat, shallow breathing, clenched muscles. And when that happens over and over every day, what was once a survival system becomes a trap. Your body isn't trying to sabotage you. It's doing its job. It's just stuck in a loop, one that your mind and your modern world have made impossible to escape from. But here's the most powerful idea. What if you stopped fighting that feeling? What if anxiety isn't something to control, but something to learn from? What if it's a reflection of how deeply you care, how much you sense, how badly you want to be aligned with truth? If you're tired of running from yourself, if you've tried therapy, meditation, even meds, and still feel that hollow ache inside, then this conversation is for you. Because we're going deeper than symptom control. We're looking at the root. We're going to stop calling this a malfunction and start calling it what it is, a message, a mirror. So take a breath, not to calm down, but to be present, because what comes next might change how you relate to yourself forever. Let's break something wide open. You weren't born anxious. You weren't born scanning the room for threats. You weren't born holding your breath waiting for something to go wrong. That came later, when the world started teaching you that being safe meant being in control. From school to work to relationships, we're trained to believe that if we plan enough, achieve enough, manage enough, we can somehow dodge chaos. We're told to keep everything together, be productive, be composed, don't fall apart. But what if that obsession with control is the very thing making you fall apart? Alan Watts called it the wisdom of insecurity. And it's exactly what we've lost. We don't feel safe anymore, not because life is worse, but because we've been conditioned to believe that safety comes from control. So we chase plans, routines, insurance policies, motivational quotes, and self-help routines, all in an effort to dodge the one thing life guarantees: change. And it never works. Because reality doesn't care about your checklist. Life will still surprise you. People will still leave. Your body will still age. Plans will still fall through, no matter how much you prepare. That's why anxiety doesn't come from life itself. It comes from your resistance to it. You're not anxious because the world is dangerous. You're anxious because you're trying to live in a way that denies what the world actually is: unpredictable, impermanent, fluid. Watts said something profound. The more we struggle for life as pleasure, the more we are actually killing what we love. And that applies here. The more you try to force stability, the more you smother your aliveness. You lose the moment because you're constantly preparing for a future you can't predict. And your anxiety is a response to that loss. Your soul knows it's missing something. Now let's bring this back to biology. Robert Sapolsky wasn't just explaining stress. He was exposing a glitch. Our bodies were never meant to live in chronic anticipation of imagined threats. Zebras don't think about tomorrow. They run when the lion chases them. And when it's over, it's over. But you lie in bed imagining failure. You picture losing everything. You obsess over what might happen next week, next year, next conversation. Your mind sends the signal. Your body responds like it's war. And the cycle loops endlessly. You sweat without danger. You panic without a predator. You feel exhausted from a battle that never actually happened. And the most tragic part? You think this means something is wrong with you. But it's not you. It's the wiring. It's your brain using ancient systems in a modern world. It's your biology trying to protect you from stories, not saber-tooths. This is why no amount of productivity hacks or positive affirmations can touch the root of your suffering. Because those are still strategies of control. They're still based on the idea that you need to fix something, achieve something, get ahead of the fear. But what if you don't? What if you stopped chasing certainty and started learning how to be with the uncertainty? Not solve it, not crush it, just be with it. That's the shift. That's what Watts tried to show us. You don't need more control. You need more presence. You don't need to plan harder. You need to feel deeper. You need to remember that life is never lived in the future or the past. It's only ever lived now, in this breath, in this body, in this awareness. And Sapolsky, he showed us that when we stop treating anxiety like a problem and start understanding it as a system out of sync with reality, we stop punishing ourselves for being human. Your body is not betraying you. It's talking to you. Anxiety is not a glitch. It's a signal that the way you're trying to live might not be aligned with who you really are. And this is where we go next. Because once you stop resisting the signal, you can start listening to it. And once you begin to listen, you begin to reclaim something that no strategy can offer: your connection to the present, your connection to your truth, your connection to life as it is. So let me ask you something that might sound strange. What if your anxiety is trying to lead you home? So what do you do now? If anxiety isn't the enemy, if control is the trap, and if presence is the way forward, how do you actually live that truth? How do you begin to move through your life without trying to conquer it? You come back to your body, not as an idea, not as a motivational phrase, but as a daily, disciplined act of reconnection. You start small. You stop trying to escape every uncomfortable emotion. You stop trying to fix everything the moment it feels wrong. You stop believing the voice that says you're not safe when nothing's actually threatening you. Alan Watts said something simple but life-altering. The secret of life is to be completely engaged with what you are doing in the here and now. Not halfway in, not scanning the past, not calculating the future. Fully, here, now. That's not easy. It's work, real work. The kind that doesn't impress anyone on social media. The kind that requires you to breathe when your body wants to bolt. To sit still when your mind screams for distraction. To stay present when it feels safer to run. But when you do that, when you train your awareness to hold steady in the middle of discomfort, something changes. You stop being a victim of your mind. You stop obeying every thought that says something's wrong. You stop treating every wave of emotion like a storm to survive. And slowly, the tension loosens. This isn't about spiritual bypassing. This isn't about ignoring pain. It's about creating space for it, witnessing it, feeling it without adding stories, predictions, or self-judgment. It's about recognizing that sometimes your anxiety isn't the beginning of a breakdown, it's the beginning of a breakthrough. Robert Sapolsky showed us that the body can be rewired, that cortisol can drop, that the stress response can relax when we stop fueling it with false alarms. Breathing, real, slow breathing, literally sends a message to the brain: you're safe. Moving your body, even just a walk outside, reminds your nervous system we're not in danger. Sleeping, eating, touch, presence. These are not luxuries. They are not rewards. They are the repair. They are the ground your sanity stands on. So what does this mean for you? It means anxiety doesn't need to be a battle. It can be a signal, a mirror, a path, not to some perfect life, but to a more honest one. Watts and Sapolsky, each in their own way, were pointing to the same thing. You're not suffering because you're broken. You're suffering because you're resisting what is. And when you stop resisting, when you let anxiety teach you instead of terrorize you, you begin to wake up. Not all at once, but moment by moment, breath by breath. You realize that maybe the goal isn't to be unshakable. Maybe the goal is to feel deeply and still remain grounded, to live with uncertainty and not collapse under it, to hear your thoughts without obeying them, to feel fear and keep walking. That's strength. That's awareness. That's real presence. So now the choice is yours. You can keep chasing the illusion of safety, keep building walls around your heart, keep calling anxiety a curse, or you can turn toward it, listen, learn, let it soften you, let it humble you, let it lead you back to what you forgot, that life isn't a problem to solve, it's an experience to feel, and every anxious breath is not a mistake, it's a call home. If this message landed somewhere deep in you, if it echoed something you felt for a long time but couldn't put into words, then you're not alone. And you're not crazy, you're waking up. I invite you to write one thing in the comments, one line, one thought, one part that stuck with you. Because someone else out there needs to read it, needs to know they're not the only one feeling this way. And if this video gave you a new way to see anxiety, not as your enemy but as your teacher, then subscribe to the channel. Not because it's expected, but because we're building something real here. Psychology that doesn't sugarcoat. Philosophy that cuts through noise, tools you can actually use. We're not done. This journey continues. And the next video might just be the next step you didn't know you needed. Support the channel. Support your own growth. And above all, keep showing up. I'll see you in the next one.